As runners, we all challenge ourselves in ways we never thought possible, pushing the boundaries of what we're capable of to smash through targets and set ourselves new, bigger and better ones.
This awesome hobby that we share gives us one thing in common, and it brings us together as a community. Whether you're working towards completing your first parkrun or you're a veteran of the sport who's run 100 ultra marathons, we all know the feeling of reaching that maxed out effort and our own red line.
Welcome to our podcast, where your hosts Brett Elsmore and Andy Maguire discuss the struggles, the successes and everything in between on our running journeys, as we all work towards the next time we're running the red line. Right then, welcome everyone to episode 8 of Running the Red Line. My name is Brett and I am one of your hosts tonight, and I am here with my co-host Andy. How are you doing this week, mate?
I'm okay. Good to see you as always on a Friday night. How was your birthday last week?
Oh man, yeah, it was
earlier
good.
This week.
It was good. I met up with some family for lunch. I had a real nice lunch up at the cafe at Tidy Big Court, and then we went into town afterwards and had some coffee and cake and did a little bit of shopping. And I bought a wonderful dry robe alternative, which you have seen.
Now this thing needs. I can't wait to see this. I just can't wait to see you. And it's the most pimped up thing I've ever seen in my life. You've just got a bit. You look like Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, like, when I feel like Snoop Dogg when I'm wearing it.
Oh man, you're just missing a cane and like some sort of like top hat or something. When I see you, I'm gonna be like, nah, 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 nah. As soon as I see you, it looks like you look like such a gangster.
Yeah, my sister said, "Are you going to take that to Manchester to wear after the race?" And I was like, "I don't know if it will fit in my bag to take to the bag drop, but we'll see." So I'll see if I can stuff it in there.
So it's like a one of a kind thing. So I've never seen anything like that, and B, let alone I didn't know Adidas did that. Is it more of a warmth? Is it a waterproof? Is it a dry robe or what is it?
No, it's a fur coat basically. But it's.
Are you just walking around Redditch doing that? Just with 20 pound notes.
It's basically it's an Ivy Park. It's an Ivy Park collaboration with Adidas, and Ivy Park is Beyonce's brand.
Wow, that's why it's so rascal then.
Yes.
Wow, you need to see this thing. It is it's a beauty. It is. And is it strictly an after race kind of?
Well,
you're going to look like a VIP. You're going to look like you just got choppered in.
Because at races now, I've seen an influx of dry robes and people in like dry robe knockoffs and things. And I've looked at them and thought, yeah, they look warm, but I'm not sure I want a dry robe because I'm never going to wear it. And then I saw that and I was like, man, that is the perfect way to keep warm after a race.
And is it like, Go on. I was going to say, has it got like that insulated lining and then like fur on the outside? It's not like...
No, it's like
it's just fur.
Yeah, it's got a lining, but it's like as if it was a going out coat. It's like a proper fur coat.
So it's essentially a lifestyle.
Yeah, it's Adidas Originals rather than a running thing. Yeah,
it's genuinely a pimp's coat.
Basically, yes.
Oh, you're gonna look so crazy in that. That's gonna be awesome. That is.
Yeah. So birthday was good. Yeah. And then
I saw the cafe did you a cake, didn't they?
Yes, they did. Especially made me a little cake, and they also decorated the table and put some balloons up. So that was really nice of them.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So it was good. And then went for a run and went down to the gym because it was Monday, so it was recovery day. So did a little bit of stuff and then sat down and did nothing at the end of the day, which was really nice.
I was going to say, did you train on your birthday? Because when it's my birthday, my first thought is now, what sort of run can I do? I don't know why.
Yeah.
I do quite like to run on my birthday. So
Yeah. Well, I got changed into my running gear to run up to the Tidy Big for lunch, then ran back from there, and then went uptown with family. And then when I got back, I went out and did a few more mile down to the gym, and then cross trainer, and then back home.
Nice. It's
Yeah,
a
it was
pretty good day. Awesome.
Yeah, it was decent. How's your training been going this week?
Yeah, decent. I think since we last spoke, which would have been Friday, just last week, I did. Let me think. So Saturday, saw you for Parkrun on Saturday. I did a tempo-y kind of exactly the parkrun I said I wasn't going to do when we were sat here this time last week. I said I was going to take it nice and easy because Sunday I had the race, but I thought no, I'll just stretch my legs a little bit, and I don't know whether it made a difference or not. I don't really know. But then Sunday, I did my Bourton on the Water 10K.
You did indeed, which we will recap later. Let's leave people on tenterhooks for that.
Yeah, all right. So since then I've done did my recovery Monday. Wednesday, I decided not to do intervals or quote unquote speed session this week. So instead, what I did was like an on-offs. It wasn't really an unders overs because it was so. Like basically, I did a steady K, and then I did like a 10K. Basically, I did 8 by a kilometer at 10K pace, which is like maybe not the best idea 3 or 4 days after a hard 10K race. But I felt good enough. I felt fresh enough to do it. So I did it, and I hit every single pace really well. Good. And so that was, I was really pleased with that. And then so basically 8 by K, and the offs were a kilometer as well. So that was a 16K run, which is essentially 10 miles. So I got and it averaged out because I did one at steady and then one at 10K pace. And my average pace was bang on. I nearly said target marathon pace now, but I'm going to use the G word. It was bang on the gimp. Bang on the gimp. It was bang on the gold marathon pace. So in fact, it was a bit quicker than. It was actually 4:58 per K, which is probably 8 minutes on the nose, something like that.
Nice.
So yeah, that was good. And then yesterday did an easy canal out and back, which is about a 9 mile or something like that, 14K. And nothing today. And yeah, and then I'm park running tomorrow, long run Sunday.
Nice. Yeah, I've had a decent week actually. Do you know what? My hip and my glute this week has sort of played ball. It's not perfect, nowhere near perfect. It's still there, reminding me it's there, but it's not stopped me training. So I'm quite pleased about that. So obviously on Saturday when I saw you, I ran my fastest mile I've run since my injury for the first mile of Parkrun. Went out a little bit too hot. So I ran a 5:45 for that first mile. So I was, quite pleased with that. And then, so I did Parkrun. I think I did it in 18:16. So a minute slower than my PB, but still, that's decent. I'm pretty pleased with that at this point in marathon training. Then Sunday, went out and did 16 miles in between steady and tempo. So I went out thinking I was going to run steady, but then because we didn't do cross country nationals because that was cancelled, I thought I could push it a bit harder. So I went a bit more towards tempo. I was in between those two paces. So that was good.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
Tempo?
Yeah.
What does that mean? Because I don't think there's a definitive answer. I think it might be subjective because I've heard somebody say that tempo should fall in between your half marathon and your 10K pace. But I always thought it was closer to your marathon pace than that's half marathon pace.
My tempo pace is my marathon pace, is tempo pace.
So it's somewhere in between your marathon and half marathon pace. Right.
Well,
interesting.
I use my tempo pace is 6:40 a mile-ish. So that's basically target marathon pace. Whereas my threshold, so your threshold is what you could run for an hour.
Okay.
So my
at max effort or at like an easy hour?
No, at a good effort. So think slightly quicker than half marathon pace. So I'd say my threshold is about 6 minutes a mile.
See, I know we'll probably get onto this on another episode, but my watch tells me that my threshold pace is slower than my half marathon pace, because I don't know why it hasn't adjusted, because it's told me this. It's told me my pace is 4:44, which is about, I don't know, 7 minutes 30 or something like that, 7:45 or something a mile. And it's said that for about 6 months now. And since then I've got a bit faster, but it hasn't adjusted itself. So I think I'll take that one with a pinch of salt.
Yeah.
Because I can run, I know I can hold a much faster pace for an hour than 4:44, than, high sevens. So I'll take that one with a pinch of salt.
Yeah. So I basically, your threshold is what you could run for an hour of pushing it. Tempo is about my marathon pace, and then obviously we've talked about steady. So so on Sunday, I was in between steady and tempo pace. So
do you do a long run Sunday?
Yeah, so 16 miles at that sort of pace. Yeah, and then Monday was recovery. So I did. I think I ended up with about 12 mile of running, and then Tuesday we had a pyramid session, which was a tough one because it drizzled all the way through, and then on the last two efforts, it absolutely chucked it down on us. But we're on the bus route again, and we did a pyramid session of 1 minute effort, 2 minute effort, 3 minute effort, up to 6 minutes, and then back down to 1 minute. And in between every effort, we had 1 minute of jogging recovery.
So no walking recoveries, or like making sure you jog.
Other people were stopping and standing still and walking, but because I'm in marathon mindset, I was like, I don't want to stop. So I was jogging my recoveries and looping back to catch back up with the people who were behind to then go again. But I was around sort of like just under or around 6 minute miling for most of those efforts. So I was quite pleased with that. And then yesterday we had our first track session of the year, first time on the track.
That must have felt good.
Yeah, it was good. I didn't realise I wore completely the wrong shoes. I was in my Boston 12s. I would have wore something different if I knew we were on the track. But we did a very similar session to what you did the other week, and we did 200s. So we did 20 times 200, and I lost count and ended up doing 21. But we had 200 effort and then 200 recovery, but the recovery was twice the time of what your effort was.
I see. Yeah.
So I eased into it. The first few 200s I did in about 41 seconds for the 200s. And then on, I think the fourth rep, I caught up with Andy, our coach, and we started running together. And then we averaged 36, 37 seconds for the rest of them. And then on the final, what should have been the final one, I hit a 35. So yeah, quite pleased with that. And
I'm just going to say, I'm just going to track down my 200s. Here we go. Just to give you perspective, my 200s, I was running 200s, and it was taking me 46, 46, 46, 44, 45, 44, 44, 46, 43. So yeah, a 30 something.
Yeah,
that's 5 seconds faster. That's fast, man.
Yeah, so I was for most of them they were around 36, 37, but that last couple got down to about 35. And looking at the data afterwards, a 35-second 200 is 4:25 a mile pace.
That's shifting, isn't it?
I am very pleased with that, to be honest. So it was good. So that was a really good session, and as I say, my hip played ball. But what I will say is I'd already done a 10k run earlier in the day as a bit of a shakeout because my legs felt a bit stiff. Then went down to session, turned out to be a track session. So including the warm up and warm down, and the session and the run earlier in the day and running back from the gym, I ended up doing like 18.5 miles yesterday.
Holy moly. That's
plus half an hour on the cross trainer, plus half an hour of S&C.
And it's not even long run day.
No.
That's well, I'm just looking at your Strava, and it's quite impressive. You've got quite a nice little upward trend you've got quite a sexy graph going on here.
Yeah, Strava graph porn. Yeah.
You must be pleased with that, the way it's looking.
I am. Yeah, I am.
So was last week a bit of a deload? Because I've noticed it was 10K less.
Yeah, so it was a deload to get ready for the cross-country nationals, and then they cancelled. So it was supposed to be a deload week anyway, but I was tapering slightly so I could run better at the cross-country. But yeah, so
another question: what's the difference between deload and recovery? Is just deload a cooler way to say it?
Well, it's deload.
I should say a recovery week or a deload week.
So a deload week to me is you're still putting in the effort,
right?
But you're just reducing the mileage. So it's similar to taper, basically.
Okay. And a recovery week is there's almost
I'd
no
run
effort.
Everything slow. Yeah. I'd run everything slow on a recovery week. Yeah.
But if you've got the time in your day because you're running a lot slower, would you still keep that volume nice and high, or would you still reduce the volume as well as the effort?
It depends where it sits in a block. If it's like towards the end of a block, you still want that volume. So if you're running slow, you keep the mileage high, or if you're still putting effort in, you bring the mileage down, which is similar to taper.
Yeah. Because I'm going to find myself in this situation in 2 weeks' time, because I'm just at the end of week 8 of 16 of training. And what I'm going to do, at the moment, I'm in a block of 4 weeks of like a build phase. And I want a week, like a buffer in between that and peaking. Because I don't want to go straight into, because otherwise I'm going to have 7 or 8 straight weeks of building.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's wise, especially for me. So what I'm thinking of doing is having a bit of a deload / recovery. But I don't know how far down to take it, because the week after will be peak. So I don't want to take it too low. So then I have to run like 50% more the week after.
Yeah.
So I might do what you were saying about keeping the volume sort of high-ish, but the effort is low.
Yeah, the effort down. Yeah.
So I feel recovered, ready for peaking.
So that's happening the week before peak week.
Yeah, that's what I've decided to do. Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't want to go straight through from my last, because I always like to put 2 recovery weeks in. I know a lot of people put a lot more in than that, but if I don't have a buffer of a week around about week 10 or 11 or something like that, then my graph will just keep going up, and I think I need a bit of a break, is what I'm saying. So I'm going to either take down it's definitely going to be a reduced volume, because I don't think it's sustainable for me at my level. So I'm going to slowly put a downward curve in my graph before I go up again for peak. And so that's what I'm going to do. So I am going to take like a bit of a buffer before a peak.
Do you think a couple of weeks before peak would be better than the week before peak? Because do you want to go from like doing that much lower effort straight into the highest amount of effort you've got, or do you want to build into that peak week?
Going to do 3 peak weeks. So that's the way I'm looking at it. So I'm not going to go.
Oh, okay. So it's not final peak week before the marathon.
No. So I'm going to do 3. Cool. Yeah, I'm going to do like 3 weeks, which are going to be like essentially the weeks, I don't know, 11, 12 and 13, and 14, 15, 16 are going to be tapers. So yeah. I'm still going to build into that peak. So I want my peak to be that 14th, 13th week, the last week of the peak, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So that's why I think that recovery week just before the start of the peak, because I want those 3 weeks to be my biggest weeks.
Yeah. See, that's
I'm still
pretty much
build into it.
That's pretty much what I'm doing then, because I've just had a deload week. Then this week I'm going to build back up again, and then keep on building for the next couple of weeks before I hit peak week in, hang on, where are we? We're at end of week 8.
Yeah.
So yeah, in 3 weeks' time, I'll hit peak mileage.
Yeah. And are you going to still keep your 2 days off a week?
Yes. Yeah.
So you're going to make sure you're keeping those days. See, this is where the haters going to hate, because I have decided for one of my peak weeks to run every day, because I don't want to do crazy big mileage. I don't want to be doing 2 super big long runs in the week. And I would much rather have a couple of extra recovery days, but still do, I don't know, 6 mile or 10K or something as recoveries.
Yeah. See, a lot of people have said to me to try and get my mileage where it is, I should be running 6 days a week rather than 5. But I prefer having the 2 recovery days and then doing doubles. So like on a Thursday now, I've started doing a double. So I do a run in the day and then do session in the evening.
Yeah.
So that's my preferred way of doing it. But you could spread it over an extra day.
Yeah. So the whole double threshold idea that a lot of people love to do.
Yeah.
Do you do any of that, like double back-to-back efforts on the same day, or do you think that's a recipe for disaster?
Yeah, for me, for my training, for what I'm going for, I don't think double threshold would work for me, because it's not, the double threshold isn't about doing like intervals and stuff like we've been doing in our training. It's about hitting that threshold pace 2 times a day for a good chunk. So you're just building up that endurance. But I prefer to do the stuff where I'm running faster to get that speed in my legs. So when I'm running at marathon pace, it feels easier.
Well, that kind of brings us on to one of the things on our sort of list of things to talk about, which was intervals / speed work. And like, what would you say are your go-to or favorite speed work sessions? Do you have any, or do you just play it by ear every time you get the shoes on and you see what you fancy?
The only sessions I really plan myself are my Sunday long run. Because other than that, on a Monday is recovery. So I just run really easy. And then on a Saturday, I normally run down to Parkrun, and then run back from Parkrun. So that's not really a session. It's just going down to do that 5K. And then on a Sunday, I'm setting what I do on a Sunday. But on my Tuesdays and Thursdays, because I'm going down to a session with the club, I just do whatever Andy, our coach, has set for that evening. So yeah, it will be a mixture of different sessions. So as I say, this week we did a pyramid session, which was longer sustained efforts towards the middle and then reduced again. And then Thursday we did 200s. But we've got one of my favorite sessions actually coming up on Tuesday next week, which is a great session. So it's going to be on the track again. And it's apparently one of Paula Radcliffe's sessions. And it's 45 minutes of running around the track, and it's alternating 400s. So you run a lap at marathon pace. And then the next lap you run at 10K pace. And then you alternate between marathon pace and 10K pace for 45 minutes.
So your marathon pace becomes your sort of float pace, really. So the slowest you'll be running. That sounds pretty tasty, pretty spicy. For 45 minutes.
So my ons will be at, if I'm going for my PB 10K pace, my ons will be about 85-second laps. And then my marathon pace laps will be 100 seconds. So 1 minute 20.
Yeah. Oh, that will be
no, that is 80 seconds, isn't it? 1 minute 20. Sorry, 1 minute 40, 100 seconds. Yeah.
Oh, so it's quite a considerable amount slower.
So 85 for the ons and 100 seconds for the marathon pace. So 15 seconds difference.
Yeah.
But it's still 6:40s. So it's still a decent pace. It's not like you're dawdling along. But yeah, that's a really good session. We did that one last year and I really enjoyed it.
Right. I seem to be drawn constantly towards the classic 6x2, 6x3 minutes, or I'm at 6x2s at the moment because I haven't really built up to 6x3s, but that just seems to sit nicely for me. And I don't know whether I'm just being lazy or this is clever, but I do like a walk-in recovery because I do like to go hard on the intervals.
Yeah.
And then I normally need, that's the thing though, I normally, especially at week 8 of marathon training, because I've relatively haven't done a lot of speedy stuff. It's mainly been long, easy or steady stuff. So I'm finding that the walk-in stuff is needed, but maybe in a few weeks' time, I can start to jog those recoveries or at least walk them.
But it depends how hard you're pushing the efforts as well. So
Intervals,
are you going absolutely flat out on those intervals, or are you holding back a little bit and it's more threshold pace? So
no, it's for me, an interval, the intervals that I tend to run are faster than 5K pace. They're faster than, they're like my dream 5K pace. So it's not like sprint finish, kind of like running hell for leather pace. It's like, I wouldn't say I'm holding back because it's still a hell of a lot of effort. I'm still at like 90, 95%. Well, more like 85, 90%. But I'd say I don't know why, but I never really seem to do any speed work that's slower than 5K pace for less than 2 minutes. Because in my head, I'm thinking, well, that's not worth it. I might as well, if it's 10K pace, I might as well do a kilometer. I might as well do half a mile.
Yeah.
Which is probably maybe a silly way of thinking about it, but I'd much rather push myself harder for a shorter amount of time.
Yeah.
So that's the way I approach it, I guess.
Have you ever done any fartlek sessions?
Yeah, but again, my interpretation of fartlek is probably completely wrong. So I will just basically use a fartlek as like an effort thing where I'll just move up and down, the effort ladder really, where I think is hard and then slightly less hard and then nice and easy and then back to sort of semi, I can't say semi-hard because there's all sorts of entendres there. But like, no, I don't really do too much fartleky stuff. But
that is exactly what a fartlek is, though, because fartlek is it basically means speed play. That's what it translates to. So as long as your run is lots of different paces for different amounts of times, then it's a fartlek.
Yeah, because I know what's that the Kenyan thing they do on a Tuesday or on a Thursday or whatever it is in I-10. They always do. Is it like 2 minutes on, 1 off, or something like that, or the other way around?
Like
or and it's they'll decide the pace, but the on pace will be like 5K pace, won't it? It will be fast. It'll be hard. Yeah.
But then they do other ones where they bring the speed down and they'll mix up different paces within the efforts. So
do those guys just all meet on like whatever morning it is, and they just decide it there and then on the day what they're all going to do, and then you just join in if you're there? Because I'm sure I saw, is it Ben is running or the Welsh runner or someone do that when they went to Kenya, and they just turned up to track, and then you sort of almost hear all these whispers, and you have to ask the person in front of you what the people have decided, and by the time you've gone to get your watch, they're off, they've gone. And you've just got to kind of, if you can, keep up with the pack, and that's how they do it, isn't it? They all just sort of run together and lap their watches every minute or two. It's
a good. I quite like fartleks because it's a good way of getting that endurance into your legs and into your lungs, because the difference between fartlek and intervals is, like, when you're doing your intervals, you can stop and walk or have a standing recovery or something. But a fartlek is all about, you are running for the whole period of time. You're just playing with paces and having slower and faster paces. So it's good. I quite like them. And that's what I tried to keep so my pyramid session, that's why I wanted to do the jogging recoveries in between. So it was a bit more like a fartlek rather than stopping and standing still and then going again. I wanted to keep that movement in my legs.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, do you ever do, especially in races, do you ever do surges? Do you ever try and drop people? Because I imagine that's quite useful. I bet we'd all love to be able to do that, wouldn't we? But like,
I have tried, and
they've caught you back up.
Yeah,
they've surged past you.
Yeah, there are times when I've tried and it just hasn't happened because people go with you. But I did try and do that. I know that was my exact plan of action for Ulster 10K, where I got my PB last year. So my plan from the start was to go out at PB pace.
Yeah.
And then at 5K, there's a hill. And my plan was get to that hill at PB pace and then push hard up the hill to try and get away from people if I could, but get that hill out of the way.
Yeah.
So then it was just a case of just gunning it to the finish then.
Yeah, because you're pretty confident on hills, aren't you?
Yeah.
Where others may look at a hill and think, oh shit, you're thinking, I can drop a few people here. Yeah.
But that brings me on to another thing which I've just thought of, like I think I enjoy running hills, and I'm not bad at running hills because I've got such a short stride. So I take more steps than other people do who have got longer strides. And apparently to get up hills, you need to shorten your stride anyway, because that then allows you to get up the hill quicker.
So if you try and stride up a hill, you're gonna probably hit a wall sooner. You're probably gonna
and it's not as easy because obviously the floor is going up, so you can't take such long step because as you'd stride out, you'd be hitting the floor constantly with your legs. So you need to shorten your strides to get up the hill. But we were looking after the session on Thursday, and I looked at my cadence, and so on most of my runs recently, my average cadence is about 185 steps per minute, which is quick as an average cadence anyway. But during the 200s on Thursday, I hit a maximum cadence of 247 steps a minute.
Wow.
So I must have looked like Roadrunner. My legs.
Yeah. Wow, that is mad. That is interesting. Because I think a lot of people like to hit that round number of 180, don't they?
Yeah.
Of the cadence, the magic number. So nearly 250.
Yeah.
Holy moly. Yeah. Interesting. Because you once described your cadence to me as a shuffle, a marathon shuffle.
Yes, the marathon shuffle,
a Muhammad Ali style shuffle, isn't it?
Yeah. That's one of the things they do say. People have a marathon shuffle running style, and that suits different distances and different events.
Yeah. So this is like, did you say it's, you think, or it could be attributed to something to do with your hamstrings?
Yeah, I think, yeah. So I stupidly a couple of years ago, when I got really back into running and exercise and stuff, because I was doing some cycling as well, I thought, I'm going to enter a triathlon. I can't really swim very well, so I'll start going swimming. And I started going swimming like 3 times a week, and pushing off the end of the pool on every length, I screwed up my hamstrings and proper hurt, damaged my hamstrings. So I think then getting back into training after that, I started to take shorter steps to try and not overextend my hamstrings. And I think it's just developed into, that's the way I run.
Interesting. Because you were like that, you were looking for that explosive push off.
Yeah, off the wall.
off the wall.
Yeah, I was basically in my head. I was like, well, I can't swim very well, so if I push harder and float through the water for half the length, I haven't got to swim as much.
Yeah. If I become a human torpedo for as long as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, swimming's not for me. Swimming's not for me.
Well, it's weird how how it's all worked out, because it's kind of giving you almost an advantage when it's come to hilly stuff.
Possibly, yeah,
Maybe.
yeah.
But I
Yeah,
imagine
but
yeah. So does that mean you tire quicker potentially because you do take more steps?
well, I don't know, because it's that whole thing of like cycling. I don't know whether you like followed cycling years ago. Do you know the whole
No.
Lance Armstrong thing and everything when he eventually got done?
Yeah.
But when he started winning the Tour de France and stuff, the reason he was doing so well on the hilly sections is because instead of grinding it out on a really hard gear and doing really like having to use loads of power to push through every pedal stroke,
Yeah.
he developed a style where you went into a much lower gear and just let your feet go. So they were pedaling at a much higher cadence. So they were using their aerobic capacity to push their feet round quicker rather than trying to slowly grind up the hills. And that technique then started to catch on, and people started to use it because they realized if they built up their aerobic capacity, they could get up the hills quicker by having a much higher cadence.
Yeah.
And I think that also applies to running, I guess, because the higher cadence allows you to be better up the hills and stuff, but it just means that you need your aerobic to be better. So I'm guessing other people who have got a longer stride are a much stronger runner than me.
Right.
So
Like,
I don't know.
what, literally their legs are more solid, muscular,
Yeah,
with
possibly,
muscles, you mean?
I guess so.
Muscle-wise, yeah. Okay, interesting theory. Yeah. So yeah, Speedwork for me, my go-to is those big chunky intervals. And by the way, you mentioned the 200s. I do actually really like running those 200s as well, and I'll run them at quite a similar effort. Could maybe even run them quicker, because when I did the 10 by 200s on my first couple of weeks of training, I was finishing the 200 and thinking, oh, is it over already? Like, not sounding like I'm like, Usain, but like I was looking at my watch thinking, I could maybe have pushed that slightly quicker. But having said that, towards the end, I did obviously feel the fatigue of it. But I do quite like those. It's nice to feel light on your feet, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because apart from a sprint finish, you very rarely, or I very rarely, get a chance to run that fast. So when you're running faster than one of your, I don't know, 5K pace, it's, apart from getting like a nosebleed when everything's telling you to stop, it's actually quite a nice, liberating feeling, especially when you know it's not going to last that long.
Yeah, no, so, it was really nice actually yesterday to actually get that speed in the legs, because it's been a long time since I've actually pushed to that speed. So yeah, it was a good way to to spread the different types of session through the week, because obviously we had that pyramid session, then the explosive speed session, and then I'll have my marathon pace session on Sunday. So it's nice variation.
And just quickly, you mentioned about the track, and you said you might have chosen the wrong shoes or whatever, but what shoes? Because I never run on a track, apart from, like I've said before, apart from Amsterdam Marathon, the last 200 and the first 200. But what shoes should people be turning up to training in, or track, do you think, depending on the session?
I was wearing my Boston 12s, and although they are a good training shoe and you can still pick up the pace in them and they still feel quite snappy and stuff, I would generally use a much lower stack shoe on the track, because you're turning that bend every 100 meters. You're then in another bend for 100 meters. I don't like that high stack feeling of feeling like you're going to go over on your ankle. So I wear a much lower stack shoe. So I have done track sessions in Takumi Sens, but a shoe I really like using on the track is the Adios 8. So they are, they've got Light Strike Pro in the forefoot, but then they've got normal Light Strike 2 in the heel, and they're a much lower stack, but they're still an Adizero minimalist shoe. So you can get around the track nice in those shoes.
Yeah.
But
cool.
yeah, I would go for a much lower stack on the track than I would for a normal session.
So you don't necessarily need to rock up in your super shoes.
No, although a lot of people do sessions on the track in super shoes, I don't like the feeling of using super shoes on the track. They just don't feel stable enough to be constantly turning in. And you don't need spikes. I mean, if you're racing and you're doing affiliated races, so they're under UK athletics rules, then
you have to have them.
You have to have spikes. But training sessions, I wouldn't do all my training sessions in spikes, even though I own a pair of spikes, because if you've not worn spikes before, because you've got so much more traction and grip on your forefoot, all of the effort goes into your calves. And after a track race, my God, your calves are on fire. So people not used to spikes, the first time they use them, they can get some troubles and issues. So it is always worth trying them out first. But I wouldn't be training in them for every training session. When it gets to track season, I'll probably do half a session in spikes before the first race of the season, just to get used to running in spikes again. But all the training I'll do in normal shoes.
Right. Yeah. Right. That makes sense. So in terms of your super shoes, do you, and how should we classify super shoes? Basically, they're mega expensive ones.
Yeah, I would say super shoes have got to have super foam, or like the high end foam. And 9 times out of 10, they'll have a carbon plate or carbon rods.
Yeah. So with that said, how often do you wear your super shoes, and what purpose do they serve?
So
and how many pairs of super shoes have you got?
Well, it depends. Do you class a pair of Takumi Sens as super shoes? Because they've got the super foam, but they've got glass fiber rods rather than carbon rods. So it's whether you class those as a super shoe or not.
I'd say they're not.
I wouldn't say they were a super shoe.
No, I wouldn't say they are.
I'd say for a super shoe, you've got to have the high stack as well.
Yeah.
And they're a bit more minimalist, although they are still quite a high stack.
Yeah, I suppose they
compared to flats of years ago. That actually brings me onto something which I was going to mention today. So we'll carry on about super shoes in a minute, but I was doing some clearing about and moving around the other day, and I found my first ever pair of marathon shoes.
You still got them?
These are what I ran London 2012 in.
Wow.
And I can't even imagine running in these now, let alone running a marathon.
God.
They are the Adidas Response Cushion 20.
Look at the heel counter on them.
I know.
Look at the padding in the heel. That's like...
But it's rock hard.
Are they heavy? Are they heavy?
Yeah, they're heavy. It's not very soft because it's just normal EVA foam. So
right.
Yeah. No rods or anything. They've just got the old Adidas torsion system.
I remember the torsion system. Yeah.
And
but I suppose
blown rubber soles, outsole. So, but yeah.
But when you were first going shopping for them shoes, especially in 2012, you probably never heard of super shoes. Were super shoes even a thing back then?
No.
Carbons.
No
when did they come out? Super shoes. I imagine the Vaporfly was probably the first. Was it? The Alpha, maybe.
The first ever super shoe was the Nike Tempo Next Percent.
Next Percent. Yeah. I remember the Tempo Next
Which
Percent. Yeah,
was, because then, I think that was only about 6-7 years ago.
Yeah. So I wonder if like Nike have started they've started a battle that they feel like they're losing now because I
Well,
don't know if
everybody's
they've.
caught up now.
Yeah, I wonder if they've had people that have worked for Nike and then they've been poached by Adidas, been poached by Puma, they've been poached by Saucony or Brooks. Brooks have got super shoes now. So like the tech is everywhere now, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like
apparently, I think I'm probably going to get this wrong now, but I think it was the American Olympic trials, but not the one that's just gone for the Tokyo Olympics. Nike provided either alpha flies or vapor flies for every athlete to wear, because other athletes who weren't sponsored by Nike were complaining so much that Nike athletes had an advantage because they had super shoes and everyone else had normal flats.
Yeah.
That to make it fair, Nike provided a pair of super shoes for everybody.
Wow.
But obviously, a lot of people who were sponsored couldn't take them and use them because they were sponsored by another brand.
Because they're under contract, yeah.
Yeah, but for Nike, they made it okay for their athletes to be wearing them because they said, look, if you think it's unfair, you can have exactly the same shoes. So, but it's changed now because every brand's got a super shoe, and even brands who you wouldn't think would have super shoes have super shoes.
Yeah. I think kickers have got a super shoe now. Pod.
Pod.
You remember Pod? Did you used to wear Pod at school?
I did. No, I had a pair of kickers. I didn't have a pair of pods.
I had a pair of kickers. No, I don't think my mum would let me have Pod. In fact, my mum used to kill me because I used to wear something called bootleg, and that was basically literally bootleg copies of Pods.
Yeah.
So you're having them. You're having. I was like, Mom, I'm gonna get like beaten up on the playground. And or what was the one that all the Wellard kids had? The Rockports.
Rockports,
yeah. So that's normally the proper naughty kids at school have the Rockports.
Yeah. But now every brand's got a super shoe. So going back to what you were saying, so I do use my super shoes every now and then in training, but I've used them more this training block than I did last training block, but I try to not use them in all of my marathon training sessions on a Sunday because I want to feel the benefit of the super shoes when I get to race day.
Yeah.
So I'd rather do the training in a shoe that isn't as responsive and still hit the paces. So when I get to race day, I set off and go, oh my God, I'm running this pace, and it doesn't feel half as hard.
Yeah. See, that's what I like about, for example, I've got the pink shoes in my rotation are called the Saucony Endorphin Speed 3s, and they've got a nylon plate, which is it's more bendy basically. So it's not you don't quite have that same responsive kind of toe off or whatever it's called than you would with the Adios Pro 3s. They're not as stiff, and they do simulate. Well, technically, they would be a super shoe, I guess, because of the foam in it and the plate that runs from heel to toe. But it's just not a carbon plate. But that's why I do like doing my long runs in them, because they kind of simulate that feeling of the super shoe. But I'm still working slightly harder than I would in a carbon shoe. So occasionally I'll wear my Vaporflies for long runs or maybe speed sessions. They're creeping into my everyday training runs at the moment, which I wish they wouldn't, but I just keep reaching for them because in my head I've got that they're fast shoes, so wear them on my fast efforts. But I don't know where I was going that with that really. But no, I'm not adverse to wearing my carbon shoes for training, because I don't really seem to feel I don't get problems with my knees. I think a lot of people suffer with knee problems with carbon shoes. Touch wood anyway, I'm okay. But some people that literally race day only, and even that is too much for some people. So I don't mind wearing my and I've got my Adios Pro 3s that have been literally worn about 3 or 4 times, that I will race when we're racing that 20 miler that will be the one and only time. I might wear them again after that before the race, but I will wear them for Newport as well.
Yeah.
Because
I'm gonna go on.
Like you said, I just want to feel that benefit of that brand new shoe.
Yeah. So
in the business.
That's what I was going to say. I'm going to buy a new pair of Pro 3s ready for Manchester, and I'll probably run the 20 miler and then the marathon after that in them. I just want that brand new poppy feel to them, because the pair I've got now, I think I've done 250 mile in, and they still feel great. Every time I put them on, I'm like, wow, these are great shoes. But I know in my head, if I've got a brand new pair, mentally I'll think it's faster as well. And it's always good. Half of the battle is mental. So if you can feel even better in your head, then I think that's another win.
Yeah. And I think if you can, on the day, you can't really, unless you've done a race, I don't know, you can't really think about life before racing, can you? But I remember running, my first race I ever did was the Worcester City Runs, the half marathon, 2021, I think it was. That was my first ever race. It was a half marathon. I remember looking at my watch and I'd done 3 miles, done 5K, or seeing the 5K marker and thinking, I think I've just got a 5K PB here. But I didn't even feel out of breath. I didn't even feel, so like race day can do funny things, can't it? It can but that's why a lot of people get into trouble later on, because a lot of it's adrenaline and
that's why you've always got to hold yourself back at the start of a marathon, never go off too fast.
But I remember doing that race, and I mean, I don't think I even really used to have a 5K PB back then. I just entered myself into that race and realized I got like a 5K, 10K half marathon PB all in one day. But I remember just thinking, wow, it didn't feel like this in the second hour of that 2 hours. But I remember just thinking, this feels so easy. This feels great. And it's never felt this easy before. And that, I do like that feeling in a race, especially when you go into it and you're feeling good. But I remember that athlete, was it Steve Cram, or the guy that Steve Cram was talking to when we both went to the running show? He was talking about the rule of thirds. I quite like that. About like the first third of your marathon should feel, if anything, quite easy. Yeah. Your middle third should be, okay, right, I need to lock in, I need to try and focus. And your final third is just survival and trying to just hang on. And if you've got anything left, you should be in a world of pain. That final third, you should be. So the rule of thirds will be something I'll be taking with me, because I think if you break that rule of thirds and you're struggling in that first third, or you get to that final third and you're still feeling right as rain, then maybe you weren't going fast enough. Or, so if I think that rule of thirds as a rule kind of is quite useful.
Yeah, decent. Yeah. Talking of super shoes, one thing I have written down on my list of things to talk about is the Osaka Marathon, for one reason in particular. But apparently it was a bit of a tough day over in Japan on the Osaka Marathon on Sunday. I think it was 5 degrees C when the race started, and it was raining throughout and proper windy. So people were like getting hypothermia and all sorts whilst they were running. It was bad. But the main reason I want to talk about it is the guy who won it, and I'm going to absolutely destroy his name here, trying to say it, but Kyoto Hirabayashi. Sorry.
I think you did that really well, mate.
So
don't listen to anyone who says your Japanese isn't good as it used to be.
Yeah. It was his debut marathon. So his very first marathon. He was 21 years of age, and he ran a 2:06:18 for his first ever marathon in those conditions. But what shoe do you think he was running in and won the Osaka Marathon in?
Kickers? You're gonna tell me it's something crazy like not a super shoe now, or it's gonna be like not a big branded super shoe. I'm gonna go for the Puma Fast R.
No, it wasn't a carbon plated shoe.
Was it Saucony? Was
No,
it a nylon? Adidas?
no. It was the
Rods?
Takumi Zen 9.
No way.
So the same as what Emile Caress run the Olympic standard in London. So he run London in 2:08 something in the Olympic standard in a pair of Takumi Zen 9s. This guy, 21-year-old, come out debut marathon in a pair of Takumi Zens and wins the Osaka Marathon.
See,
How crazy is that?
that is crazy. Don't get me wrong. That is not the shoe you'd expect someone to be wearing. But that also annoys me that so many, shoe tubers and stuff were saying do not run further than 10k in the Takumis when they first came out. I remember so many people saying this is a 10k shoe max because they were comparing it to the Nike one, weren't they? The Street Fly, and they were saying it's got no comfort to it. It's it just you won't be able to run anything faster or further than a 10k.
Yeah.
And I'm glad someone has proved that theory wrong because I'm always wary of people that tell you how far a shoe can run.
Well, have a look at the flats before super shoes came in. Have a look at the flats that Kipchoge was running, like stupid times in. There's even less cushioning than a Takumi Sen. If you'd have pulled out a Takumi Sen back when they were racing in flats, they would go, "That's illegal. That's a really high stack shoe. You can't be running a marathon in that."
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, it just shows you can. I wouldn't recommend it. Running a full marathon in a Takumi Sen if you're not a elite athlete like that guy or Emile Caress. I wouldn't, because Emile Caress apparently after London said his feet were in bits from running that full marathon in the Takumi Sen. So, but up to a half marathon, I would say yes, go for it.
Yeah,
my
half marathon PB's in that shoe.
Yeah,
Takumi Sen 8.
So I would say, yeah, go for it. You can do way more than 10k at a decent pace in those shoes, and they feel great.
Ah, interesting. So Osaka is obviously the second biggest marathon behind Tokyo, which is this
weekend.
Which is one of the world marathon majors, which is the first of the 6 to kick off the new season. And there's a couple of high flyers, high rollers in Tokyo, including the GOAT.
Yes.
And also Sifan Hassan as well. Yeah.
Yes. So Kipchoge's running Tokyo, which is going to be great to see him back out on the streets on a marathon. But
has he raced since Berlin?
I don't think so. No.
No, they tend to only do 1 or maybe 2 a year, don't they? Well, like most of us, but like
But obviously his next one will be Paris. Will be the Olympics.
Yes. Yeah.
So this is like his tune-up race for the Olympics.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to watching Sifan Hassan run because
I love that woman.
Yeah, she's so good, isn't she? Just smile on her face at all times. She's
I think like when you think about iconic London Marathon moments, when she was handing the bottle around, saying, "Does everybody want a drink, girls?" And then like 5 miles before that,
biggest power play in the world.
5 miles before that, she was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna have a quick stretch in my hamstring," and you're thinking she's gonna pull out here, and she was in about 4th or 5th by then, and then her sprint finish at the end, that finish for that, I think it was 3 of them were in contention to win it that year, weren't they?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
yeah, that was one hell of a finish to the women's 2023 race, 2022. Sorry.
When she almost missed the bottle, and then she decided to more or less run back on herself to go and get the bottle, and then ran up to all of them and went, "Oh, you didn't get your bottle. Do you want some?" Yeah, so good.
What a woman!
I've got enough energy to even go back and get my bottle. You're on your limit.
But she seems like such a gracious, zero ego, and she just seems like a real. You just root for people like that, don't you? She just seems like a real one. She seems like a really talented as well. Because didn't she smash Chicago?
Yes,
she won Chicago.
I
think
Chicago, she won, did the second fastest women's marathon ever. And if it
Yeah.
wasn't for Tigster Sefer, who had broke the world record by stupid amounts, by like 3 minutes, it
In
would have
Berlin,
been a new
yeah.
world record.
Yeah.
So,
Is Tokyo famously one of the harder of the 6 to run? I don't know if it's hilly like
no,
London or Boston, or is it fast?
I think it's one of the faster ones.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. So I
Somewhere
think,
in between after Chicago and Berlin, I would have thought.
yeah.
Tokyo's
So
next, maybe.
I think Sifan Hassan will be going for it. So hopefully
Yeah.
she can smash it out the park.
Have you heard that there is talk of making it an 8-star World Series with I heard Sydney and Cape Town being added.
So I don't know about Cape Town, but Sydney have now hit the second stage of becoming a World Marathon Majors. So last
Really?
year for the Sydney Marathon, I think they had to have at least 30,000 runners and had to like hit certain things and certain qualification rules to become a marathon major. And they did most of them last year. So if they can then have a really big event this year again, they may become the 7th marathon major.
Ah, interesting. That would be quite a good one, I would have thought. But I've
Yeah.
never been to Australia, but I think Sydney's quite a hilly city, isn't it? That wouldn't be an easy one
No, I don't think it's an
to run
easy
around.
marathon, no, but
Because there's a race. Oh, I wish I knew what it was called. I think it's called Surf to Sea, something like that. There is one of the biggest races in the world in Sydney. I think it's is it Bondi or something like that? And I think it's a 10K, but it attracts, no joke, it attracts like upwards of nearly 100,000 people or something stupid like that.
oh,
Maybe
wow.
I've over exaggerated that, but I'm sure maybe someone can tell us in the comments. I'm sure it's called the Surf to Sea and it's huge, but I'm pretty sure it's a 10K. So yeah, I know I can imagine it will attract a lot of people. The Sydney Marathon,
Yeah. That would be one I'd look at trying to get if it does become a marathon major. That would be one I'd love to go over and do. But it would be one of the reasons I haven't been and done loads of overseas races is because the expense of actually going over to do a race. Because if I'm going abroad to go and run a race, whilst I'm running that race, I'm not going to see the place properly. The day before, I'm not going to want to go and sightsee because I'm going to want to save my legs. So you're going to have to stay there a few days afterwards, which then makes it very costly. And then if you have a shocker of a race, are you going to want to celebrate and spend time wandering around the streets whilst your legs are in bits? So it's just saving up and picking the right place to go. And
I know a lot of people will use the 6 stars as different sort of, so like for example, I know someone who wants to do all 6 of them sub 3 hours. Like that's their target.
Yeah.
Some people, I spoke, a mate of mine from Worcester Pitchcroft Parkrun called Kieran. He might have done 4 or 5 of them. He did Boston. I think he did Boston like 301 or something like 302. He's done, I think he's done them all apart from Tokyo maybe. And we were chatting at Parkrun and he said he's got completely the different ethos. He quote marks enjoys the races, still does them in 302 by the way. But the ones like Manchester and Chester and Brighton and Edinburgh, they're the ones that he will really focus on getting the times on, and he will, take his foot off the gas slightly to drink it all in. Because I imagine those 6-star races are crazy. I imagine you've obviously done London as a spectator as well. Like it must be, Manchester was probably the biggest marathon I've done, or Amsterdam maybe, that was pretty big. And the adrenaline you get from the crowd and the other runners and stuff is mega. So I can't imagine what that London, that Tower Bridge bit is like. That must be insane.
It's incredible. And it is really good when you're feeling okay. When you're feeling terrible, it's the worst thing because people
Really?
are going, come on, you've only got a couple of miles to go, and you're feeling like absolute death. And you've got people screaming your name, telling you how, come on, you can do it, you can speed up. Come on, there's only a little bit of distance, and you're thinking, you need to shut up.
Yeah. I wish I was doing the Bourton Marathon around that industrial estate right now, where there's just a load of empty pallets.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
But
that
no,
gets quite
yeah, the
frustrating.
atmosphere is incredible. So I can't imagine what it would be like in like all the other countries as well. And Japan, it's just like their culture is big into running. Running's a massive thing in Japan. So I can imagine it being incredible.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun to go over there. So yeah, that'd be great. Good luck. I don't know if anybody will listen to this on the start line of Tokyo or not, but if anybody is racing, then the best of luck. We wish you well, and let us know how you get on, or if you've done Tokyo maybe in the past. Let us know what was different about it. What made it, so different. Like, I'm sure I watched Benny's running last year, did Osaka, and one of the things I remember was at the start line, everyone was just sat down.
Yeah, there's a long waiting time. Yeah, and people just sit down where they are.
In the pens, and everything was almost like deathly silent, almost. And I mean, that could have been part of their COVID response or something like that. I don't know, but I remember someone was lining up to do Tokyo last year or the year before, and the rules had come through, and it was like you weren't even allowed to talk to people or something like that on the start line just after they'd relaxed the COVID restrictions. So they took it really seriously. You couldn't stand within 2 meters of anybody else. The starting pen was about 14 miles long. You had to wear a mask outdoors. Imagine that marathon. Surely you'd take it off and chuck it away as soon as you start. But COVID. Remember that? That was good, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. But what I was going to say as well, one other thing I did want to talk about was obviously we talked about having a bit of a deload week and things like that, but also wanted to talk about recovery and how you're doing it in between your runs and things like that. So are you stretching enough and stuff like that? Obviously, I am having an ice bath after every session now, and I've got up to 5 minutes in there, and it seems to be doing the trick. It seems to be speeding up recovery. So I'm going to keep on doing that for the rest of the marathon block at least. And then probably we'll keep that in my routine. But the other thing is something that I went for this morning, and why I went out the house. So we were chatting before we started recording, and I said that I had to get out the house early this morning and didn't eat or anything. And it's because I went up to the physio and had a sports massage.
Yeah, I need to book myself one in. I still haven't done it. How did you get on?
Good, but after she had got her thumbs and fingers and her elbows into all of my muscles, especially into my left glute, which is really tight, getting her elbow and all her weight in there. I've been walking around a bit like I've been hit by a bus today,
really?
but I'm now loosening up this evening and feel quite good. So I think that is something that people who are doing a lot of mileage or are marathon training should possibly try and put into their schedule, is getting in for a sports massage, because it does do you some good.
Would you get one during these deload weeks, during these recovery weeks? Would you?
Yeah.
Does it not really matter? And how soon after can you do a long run?
I tend to book my sports massages on a non-running day.
Yeah.
Just because I wouldn't want to go out for a run straight after a sports massage. Number one, because your muscles are aching a little bit from being pummeled, but also the whole idea of a sports massage is to relax your muscles and stretch them out and lengthen them back to their original shape and length. Whereas running, the whole idea of running is that you are contracting your muscles and making them shorter to have the power to run. So if you're going for a sports massage to make your muscles as long and relaxed and stretched as they possibly can be, and then you go out for a run, you completely not only erasing the point of a sports massage, but your muscles aren't in the position that they want to be for a run, so you could then get injured really easy. And that's why you should never static stretch before a run. So before a run, it should always be dynamic stretching, so stretches in the positions and movements of running, and then at post run should then be static stretching, where you are then re-lengthening your muscles to get them back to that relaxed state.
Because they've sort of constricted a bit, and they've quite a lot, I guess. Yeah. I last time I had a sports massage with my masseuse was called Jill, and she was I remember she was doing the back of my legs, and it's sort of the back of my knee. She was like, "Can you feel that?" And it was almost like there was almost like a popping sensation in the back of my sort of, I don't know what that part of your leg's called, the back of the other side of my knee. And it's a part of it. What didn't really it didn't hurt, but I could literally feel these little pockets of air, or I don't know if they were. I don't really know what they were. It's just what is it? Scar tissue.
Mm-hmm.
And she was just getting massaging these pockets of sort of little balls, basically, and you could feel them. She was just basically just doing it in a certain way, and you could just sort of feel them dissolving almost. And she was like, "You will feel. I wouldn't go for a run today," because she said, "This is basically, these are like toxins, basically, and you can push toxins around your body when you sort of break up these areas of scar tissue." And she's like, "Yeah, don't go for a run today, because you could feel dizzy, you could feel lightheaded, that sort of thing." So but I do need to get myself sorted with a
well, I can thoroughly recommend Nat at Body Cares up at Tidy Big Court. She does me a blessing every time I go in there, and she sorts me right out. So yeah, her magic hands have got me through a lot of difficult times and different injuries over the last couple of years.
And a silly question, but do you only get your legs done? You don't get like upper body or shoulders, or is it mainly just your legs?
So today it was just my legs up to my glutes and lower back, but I have in the past had all my back and everything done as well. And while she was working on me today, she said, "We need to move into your back at some point soon, because you are tight as hell all up there." So I will eventually, but at the moment, just to get through the marathon, I just want them legs loosened up.
How are you getting on with the ice bath?
Good.
Still enjoying it? Still feel?
Do you know what? It's great, and as I say, I'm using it for recovery rather than the whole. It makes you feel wonderful. I've never felt so alive. I don't care about that. So I'm getting in there and going up to like the bottom of my ribs. So all my lower back is going in, but I'm not going up to my shoulders. So I'm just recovering the legs with it, basically. But it's been the last week or so. I think the water's been around 5 or 6 degrees C, and I've been spending 5 minutes in there, and it's doing a good job. It's working.
What you're saying? It's like a minute for every degree. It's the
maximum you should be in there. So at 5 degrees of water, at 5 degrees C, you should only be in there 5 minutes maximum.
Yeah. Do you start to go a bit numb after a while?
It's not really numb, but do you know when you go outside and it's really cold and your hands really start to, they don't really move properly because they're all stiff with the cold. It's a bit like that. So you start feeling your toes go a bit cold. But while I'm in there, I do try and move my legs around a bit rather than just staying static for 5 minutes. I bounce on my toes a little bit just to get my legs moving and get the water going around again as well. But no, it's good. It's really good. I'm really impressed with how quick the recovery is from the mileage I'm doing. now that I've started using that ice bath, because it wasn't like that last year. I know I felt the effort in my legs for quite a while afterwards, whereas it's kickstarting the recovery quite quickly.
Yeah. Oh, good. I still haven't got the stones to get one. Maybe next block, maybe for Valencia.
Yeah.
That's going to be my 3:30.
Yeah. You're going to get one. You're going to get one in the
Newport,
summer.
it's because I didn't get an ice bath. Yeah, I'll get one in the summer.
You'll get one in the summer when you'll just leave it outside and the water will be like 20 degrees. And I'll just get in the ice bath.
Yeah.
In the water.
You can do 20 minutes in here. You can go up to your shop, get waters under. It's quite nice. I'll have a glass of champagne while I'm here.
Not a sauna. What's it called? Jacuzzi. Be like a jacuzzi. Put some bubble bath in there.
Now we're talking. Do you know? You'll like this, right? So, for our Newport accommodation, so Laura and I and Daisy are going down to Newport for. I think we've got Friday to. I'm having a couple of days off work, Friday and Monday, so we're going Friday, coming back Monday. Because I just didn't. I don't know what it is, but after a marathon, I don't like going home.
No,
if I'm traveling a long way, so I like to have an extra night away if I can. So Monday then is my travel home day. So, but anyway, we're staying in. We are staying. We didn't realise this. Looked on the map, and we are staying on the route of the marathon. So Laura can I can go to the start line, and I can, and as well, what's even better is she can see me at mile 5, basically, or mile 6, and then we do a big loop, and she'll see me again at mile 23, and she's had to walk a total of about 100 yards from the house or something like that. Amazing. So that's awesome. But they wrote to us and they said, well, it's a copy and pasted thing on Airbnb, but he said, just to let you know, you will be one of the first customers to use our new wood-fired hot tub.
Oh, yes.
So that is on site, and it's an alpaca farm as well. So it's just going to be a quality couple of days stay. So we're going to be sipping on some champagne, hopefully.
Yeah, that'd be wicked
with the alpacas. So that's going to be pretty good. But yeah, how's that for a good bit of luck that it's literally on the route? So
that's awesome.
Totally on plan. That's awesome.
I am conscious about time, looking up at the clock, and there's one big thing that we haven't talked about yet, which everyone needs to know about, and that is the Bourton on the Water 10K and Andy's race recap.
Yeah, okay.
How was it?
Well, I shall talk you through it and as quickly as I can, because we're at 1:16 already. It was good. It was so the weather forecast was dreadful for the Sunday. However, Saturday everything changed, and it turns out that when we were there on the Sunday, it was glorious. So what I mean by glorious, it was like February glorious. Mm-hmm. So it was, I think there were highs of like 9 degrees or something. So it was actually quite pleasant.
Yeah, perfect running weather.
But when we set off, it was fairly cold. It was, 3 or 4 degrees. But when the sun came out, it really was quite nice. So racing conditions were good. And got down there, and it shocked me how much of a smaller event it is than I thought it was going to be. I mean, I know it's Bourton on the Water in the Cotswolds, so it's not going to be like the blooming London Marathon. But I'd say there were literally, well, I think I saw in my results, there were 700 finishers, something like that. Mm-hmm. And I thought, because it's got a national acclaim and it sells out all the time, I thought there were going to be like 5,000 runners there. I thought it was going to be quite a big event. But Bourton literally is tiny. And I got a mate who I've met through running, actually. He's a lad from Pershore, called AD, and I saw him on the start line. He does the race every year, and he said the start bottlenecks. So don't feel bad about going out hot, because the start of the race, you do 2 laps of the village, and each lap of the village is about 800 meters or a kilometer, something like that. And he said the first bend, so you run not even 100 meters, then you turn a sharp right, and then you go over like a little you know, like a tide. If you've been to Bourton on the Water, you'll know the little bridge you have to run over, and
Yeah.
it's probably about, you know, it's a road width wide, so it's, you know, to get 700 people sideways through that is quite difficult. So I listened to his advice and I went out too fast. I did what any self-respecting runner would do, and I went out way too fast. And my first 2 kilometers, just looking at my splits, were, bear in mind, I'm going to talk in Ks, but my PB pace was 4:25. That's my target to beat. I turned up on the day and my plan was, don't go out too fast, go out at PB pace and just hang on. Try and
Yeah.
hang on. So I went out, I did a 4:16. So not terribly too fast.
Yeah.
Second lap, 4:15, even faster.
Excellent.
But I'm not joking, right? Because I wasn't at the front, but I wasn't at the back. I was probably about a third of the way forward. It was a fast start. Like, there were people. It was just a sea of super shoes. It was ridiculous. All you could hear was alpha flies, and it was so loud, so deafening. And I was like, I'm going to just let myself get swept away in this tide because I'll see what happens. And then I did my second K, looked at my watch, and then I went to plan B, which was, okay, we're going to go faster than we said we were. And I tried to hang on to that going out pace, which
Nice.
I've never done before.
Yeah.
And it didn't happen. So third, fourth, fifth K, I was down to 4:25, 4:27, 4:30. And I was thinking, something's wrong here. What's going on? Why? I'm feeling like I'm putting loads of power in, but I'm looking at my watch and I'm not getting any quicker. And at K5, there's a slight rise and there's a turnaround point. And there is a little hill. The overall elevation of the race was obviously flat in comparison, but it wasn't flat. It wasn't Worcester Pitchcroft Parkrun flat, which is 5 meters of elevation. It was, I think in total, is about 40 meters. But there was about a 500 meter section that did catch me out. And I was thinking, this doesn't feel right. And then I just thought, right, this is just about hanging on. And I was thinking in my head, thank God I went out too fast, because I'm hanging on to plan A here. I'm now hanging on to PB pace. And I thought I could have gone 10 seconds a K faster. So 6, 7, 8, 9. I did 4:29, 4:27, 4:30, 9, 4:28. And then I got to 40 minutes on the watch exactly. And it was 9K. And I said to myself, right, I've got 4 minutes and 32 seconds to run this K. And I'll always back myself to do a last good K.
Yeah.
But I felt like I was running out of power slightly. Partly because of the chat we'd had the week before. Having 80K, 50 mile in your legs by that point, maybe one of the big reasons I was running out of steam. But I said, right, I'm going to put my foot down. And AD, who had told me to go out fast, he'd run previously a 45 minute or 46 minute, and he was going for 44 high to try and get a PB. And he was on my tail, because at this point I was on for about 44.40, which wouldn't have been a PB. And he said he watched my hat just go like I'd just gone up a gear. And I zoomed around this last corner, back on the last lap. I mean, it wasn't astronomically fast. I did it in 4:12, which was my fastest K. I did it all. My fastest K all day. So I managed to find something. And then I saw a Worcester Black Pair jogger, and he was sort of in my sights. And I was watching him my whole last K, because in Worcester Black Pair joggers, their names are all on the thing. And he's called Dale. And I was like, right, I'm going to try my best to reel him in. And then turn this last corner, and I ran. My Garmin said I did 1:49 per kilometer top speed, which I might have only hit for a second or two, but I'll take it. I was running. I was sprinting like I've never run before. I didn't look at my watch. Listening to Coach Brett in my head saying, don't look at your watch last K, just go. And ran that last 100 meters as fast as I possibly could. Ran Dale to the line, but he kind of matched me for speed, and we had a good little battle. And then I got over the line.
I've watched that video on your Instagram. It's a great finish. That is.
But I really thought I could reel him in, and I got in with a 4:23 per kilometer average, which got me in at 44.20. So all in all, a 12-second PB.
Nice.
At the end of all that.
That's wicked.
So I think I thought, right, this is a flat race and it's a fast race. I think I thought I could breeze that. And then I kind of remembered halfway round that I'd got 50 mile on my legs, and I haven't had 50 mile on my legs for 6 months.
Yeah.
And
you're deep in marathon training.
Yeah. So who knows? Maybe another time.
To be that deep in marathon training and still pull out a PB, that shows you're in good shape, mate.
Well, hopefully, yeah. Thanks, mate. I did feel, and what I did like is I managed to find something at the end.
Yeah.
And I try to pride myself on that. I try to always just have something to pull out the bag if I can. And because it just makes you feel good when you cross that line. And really pleased.
Always save something for that finish.
Yeah. And I wish, because I mean, if I'd have held that going out pace, I think I would have come in. I mean, I don't know what a 4:15 pace is. I could probably work it out. It's probably about a 43, 42 and a half. Because you'd be saving 10 seconds a kilometer.
Yeah.
And when that adds up over, it's 80 seconds shorter than what I got. So yeah, it's about 43:15 or something, which would have been a massive PB. But yeah, I just wasn't able to hold that pace. So I just sat back and I thought, okay, I'll go with the original plan and just try and hang on to that PB pace. And just about did it. And I always back myself to finish hard. And but I had that little panic. I looked at my watch. I made the conscious decision to look at my watch. And at 40 minutes, as soon as I went over 9K, and I did the maths, and it was like, right, I've got 4 minutes and 32 seconds to get the job done. And bear in mind, I just run a 4:29, 4:20, 4:28, and a 4:30. So I was slowly slowing down. So yeah, like I said, delighted that I was managed to find something.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. Congratulations on a new PB.
Yeah, so really pleased with that. And first one of the year. Hopefully more to come in all the distances. So yeah, buzzing with it.
Good.
Well, if that is the last item on the bill, you know what's coming. We all know what's coming. It is the Running the Red Line, Brett's End of the Podcast quiz. But this week, because I only thought about this at 6:45.
Excellent.
There's no actual quiz. So this week it's a beat the intro. You have got by the way, before we do this, 60 musical, Henry VIII. Unbelievable.
Oh yeah, I'm very, very jealous.
Unreal.
Very jealous.
Like if you get the chance to see it, everyone vaguely has some knowledge on Henry VIII. Go and see the show and you'll be obsessed with it, just like I am, just like Brett is. It's so cool. And the story is told in a way that is so accessible to all, whether you're a kid, an adult, probably not even British, it would make sense. And yeah, the songs are just so cheeky and funny and amazingly catchy. So yeah, I would definitely recommend. So yeah, big fan of 60 musical. But whilst we're on talking about music, your quiz today is a beat the intro. So I'm going to play you the intro of 5 songs.
Okay.
I will give you 5 seconds, and I need the artist and the song. And there is a connection between the 5 answers.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So
do we know? Is there a time period with them, or are they just all random from all over the time?
Looking at these, there is. You will know these. They're all pop songs written within the last 30, 40 years.
Okay.
So you should know them. As a muso, you will know these. So you've got 5 seconds, or until I stop it if it's getting too obvious. Okay. Question 1. What's your answer?
It's got to be 80s because of the really snappy snare drum. But I don't think I know that. I don't think I know it.
Okay. All right. We'll move on to question 2.
Oh man. Okay. That's Blue in All Rise.
You got that way too easily. Yeah.
As if I know that, but I didn't the other.
Yeah. Okay. Question 3.
That's Scar Tissue by Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Correct. Question 4.
That is Brown Eyed Girl by Van Morrison.
Here he goes. He's back in the game now. Question 5. This is on my running playlist.
Back in Black! I've been in black! Yeah, it's Back in Black by AC/DC.
Yeah. Correct. So, any takers on this one? Question 1. Can you think of it? Can you see any connections so far? Right, I'll fast forward it a little bit. Do you recognise her voice?
Yeah. Oh, I know what that is now. Oh,
I never meant to cause you any sorrow.
Yeah. I know exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I sound like Vic Reeves now.
It is Prince and Purple Rain. So
Correct.
it is all colours: purple, blue, red, brown, and black.
Now, can you get the connection though? There is a very deliberate reason that I've put them in that order.
Purple, blue, red, brown, and black. Purple, blue, red, brown, and black.
It is to do with a sport.
Oh, is it karate belts?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, they're the 5 highest belts you can achieve.
Amazing. Or, as my mate Paul calls it, karate.
Karate. I used to call it karate. Karate. It's karate. Karate Kid. So yeah, there you go. Well done. You got the connection. You've done it.
As if I didn't realise it was Prince first time. Never mind.
Yeah. What a song.
I was on it after that though, so it's all good.
Yeah, you were like the Baroness, the chaser on the chase. You were just like bang, bang, bang. What's the big guy called? Can't think what he's called now. The Beast.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were like the Beast from the chase. Yeah.
Which I've got a good bit of trivia about him, which is hilarious, right?
Go on.
So why do you think he's called the Beast?
The Beast. Something. Is it food related?
No. But
okay.
Just off his look, why would you instantly think he was called the Beast? That was his nickname.
Because he's like 6'9".
Yeah, because he's massive. Which everybody thought he was called the Beast because he's massive, but he's not. He's called the Beast because his name is Marc Lebet, and and Lebet is the Beast in French.
Beauty and Lebet. Oh, that's absolutely brilliant.
So everybody thinks it's because he's massive, he's called the Beast, but it's not. It's because his name is the Beast.
Oh, what a name. That is incredible. What a guy.
Yeah, but there we go.
Awesome.
And on that bombshell. Oh man, I don't like saying that. I sound like, what's his name?
Partridge.
No, I sound like
Jeremy Clarkson.
Jeremy Clarkson from Top Gear.
Yeah,
I take that back. On that note,
are you not a fan?
Well, it just makes me sound middle-aged, doesn't it?
Yeah, I suppose it. Have you been to his farm? Do you know he's got like a farm in the Cotswolds?
Yeah, no, I haven't. My brother has, but I haven't. No, because he did he did like an Amazon series about it, didn't he?
Yeah, this diddly squat thing, isn't it? But apparently it's only a farm shop, and it's I don't know. I've got literally no opinion on it because all I know is that it's in the Cotswolds. But
I haven't been to it, or I don't really know about it because I haven't watched the Amazon thing either. So, but there we go. Anyway, on that note, shall we call it an evening and
Yeah.
finish a bit earlier than last week's?
Yeah, I think we should. We've done just over an hour and a half, so
Yeah.
hopefully we've accompanied you on your long run.
Yeah.
We
So-
never know how long to make these things, by the way.
No,
we don't
not
know.
at
We're
all.
constantly thinking, is this too long? Is this too short? So yeah, we'll just chat until we think it comes to a natural end.
Yeah, but it hopefully we have kept you company on that run, and thank you so much for listening once again. We'll be back again next week, but yeah, until next time, thank you very much, and we'll see you soon.
Take it easy, guys.
Cheers, guys.